Welcome to the Nerds Cantos. All right, everybody.
God damn it. I just still one of these times I just want us to never say anything, Stewie. I'm going. That's the bit. That forever the bit. If you're new to this podcast, fucking go watch the other videos to know why we do that. I guess I don't know. There's only like 20 of them.
Why we do?
Well, yeah, the one time we were like really silent. It was like a minute and a half of us saying nothing, and then you freaked out. And after that, I've been like, I'm just gonna forever do that. Then that's just what it is.
That was shocking.
Mm-hmm. But we're doing a thing, I guess. We're doing a book club now. We're gonna talk about JoJo's Part 7, Steel Ball Run.
Steel.
But here's the thing.
Ball.
I know what's going. You're still going.
What?
No, you're good.
Yeah.
So,
my bad. God,
you're not shutting the fuck up.
Oh.
What is wrong with you? But here's the thing. Okay, this manga's long. All right, this is a long ass book, and I don't know if we should recap the whole thing like we did. You know, like how we did like Fire Punch. Like I don't really think that's.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the way to go about this. Right.
I don't believe it's necessary.
I think we should just kind of review it, say what we liked, say what we didn't like, you know, talk about you know what I'm saying? Like an actual review, because I don't...
Yeah.
Unless when YouTube wants to run down the entire plot very in-depth, because I don't feel like doing that.
The plot's nuts. Like, if we
there's a
go
lot.
It's a JoJo
chapter
plot.
by chapter,
It's a JoJo
impossible.
plot.
fuck
It's actually impossible. Because it's not like Fire Punch, where like with Fire Punch, or like when we did Spider-Man, you could like leave out a little bit of it, and you could be like, okay, well that was important, but we don't really need to discuss it in the grand scheme of things. Not with JoJo's. Like you'd have to discuss everything, and you have to get into like minute details. You know, you got to get into like the nitty gritty, and I took comprehensive notes, but even in my notes, I still don't think I'm prepared to fully recap all of Steel Ball Run. Although I guess we can do a little brief recap. A bunch of bros go to America to participate in the Steel Ball Run, a cross-country race. And during said Steel Ball Run, Johnny Joestar and fucking Gyro Zeppeli end up getting trapped, I guess you could say, or stuck into a plot to find Jesus' corpse. And then that's... I mean, that's it. That's the plot of Steel Ball Run. They gotta find Jesus' corpse, you know? I mean, shit.
Fight the president.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but... It's really about finding the corpse of Jesus, okay?
Spoilers, by the way.
I mean, it is a spoiler, but, like, I don't count it as that much of a spoiler, to be honest, because when you find...
No, I'm just saying.
No, I get what you're saying. Oh, spoilers for the rest of the manga, sure.
Yeah.
But when they find the first corpse part, and Gyro's like, yeah, I heard of this legend of some, like, saint, you know, there's possibly some, like, saint's corpse, and you're looking at it, and you're like, is that what
Yeah, he has, like, fucking... He's got the, like, crown of thorns
Yeah,
on.
you're like, wait, is that what you're doing? And then later, when you actually see him, and like, certain scenes, you're like, wait a minute, are we... And then Funny eventually confirms it, where he's like, I want to find Jesus' corpse. And you're like, okay, man. Dog.
So many things to say about Funny, bro.
All right, Rocky.
After it.
I guess we can start... we'll go in chunks, I suppose. So what do we think of, like, the first 20-ish chapters up until the arc Tusk, when Johnny actually finally gets a stand? You know, what do we think of the beginning of the manga?
I was a bit perturbed, you could say, at the beginning. Just because of the way it starts. I guess I should provide some context. Gyro, we stick with Gyro for like the main like protagonist for like the first, I would say, 30-ish chapters. Johnny is there, he's there like chapter 3. But we follow Gyro for like 30 chapters. mostly. It isn't around till like chapter 30, I would say, that like Johnny starts being more and more prevalent. Um, so yeah, we follow Gyro. Gyro's a really fun character. I love him. His ability is it's in the title. He uses the steel balls to do like wacky shit.
Steel balls.
He like has them holstered on his hip like
A
pistols.
fucking gun.
Yeah, like a fucking revolver. Uh, it's not a stand. They refer to it as like a technique or ability. Basically, use those interchangeably. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
You're good.
but yeah, it's like it's hard to describe because there's a lot of fucking rules to it.
Well,
and
the
it
rules
keeps,
you don't find out until the end. Either.
Yeah.
You think
you don't
know
find them
the
out till the
rules,
end,
yeah.
and not only that, it keeps evolving because Gyro teaches Johnny the spin over the course of the series, so you learn more about it. But originally, what we know it can do is like fuck it with like people's bodies.
Fuck with
Gyro can, like,
rotation, man. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Not just body, it fucks with their inner soul rotation.
Rotates
he
their
can basically
cell.
he like so like in essence when we first see him use it, he throws a ball on like some guy who like mugged him or robbed him, and he twists the guy's arm to where he fucking shoots himself using the ball just by throwing it once. And that's all he does. He just throws the ball at somebody and like fucks with their like entire body, like everything in their body with like one ball or two, depending on
He
the
has two balls, but most
Yeah,
of
he
the time
has
he's
two.
just chucking the one. If he whips out the second one, you know you're in some deep shit.
But that's what it does in essence, basically. Like he uses the rotation to fuck with their body and control them. There's a lot more to it as it evolves.
Yeah. Also, if you don't like westerns, don't read them.
You don't read.
Don't read them.
Yeah.
It's
This entire
a
mangas
western
are western.
through and through.
What year is it? Isn't it? It's like
1867.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think I have it written down somewhere.
Like just after the Civil War, pretty
Yeah.
much.
What about you, Nolan? What were you thinking the first 20,
The first
30 chapters?
So, the first chapter, it starts off like from Sandman. Like you're seeing Sandman fight like all sorts of people. He's running.
Yeah, they're like not colonizers, settlers, I guess.
Yeah.
They're like
Manifest
travelers.
Destiny motherfuckers.
They don't like Native
Yeah.
Americans, is what they,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, it's
really
1800s
about it.
America.
They don't like Native Americans, and Sandman's a really fast Native American.
My boy can run.
Oh my
alright?
god, he can run.
He can run. And like halfway through the chapter, Sandman and his sister run on the just like a bunch of like holes in the wall, and Gyro was just chilling there apparently,
Yeah, he's
prior.
practicing his like ball.
just throwing his balls at the rocks. They're like, what? Why are these rocks have holes?
Yeah, they don't see him obviously.
No, it's just you
Sam-
see the rocks.
Yeah, Sandman spots the Gyro's ball later, and he's like, "Oh, that's the guy with the ball."
His ball. Then you get some Poco Loco.
You get a
What a
lot
little-
of Poco Loco.
Yeah, Poco Loco is very prevalent for like the first 10,
And does
then
nothing
he's
else.
never in the
Never.
manga again.
Never again.
But he is the first person we see with a stand.
I never explained.
Never explained. It's a sentient stand too. It fucking talks, which is another
Yeah.
thing. That's also never
Come on, Poco Loco, you
explained.
got it, man. You're the
Got it.
luckiest man alive, Poco
What do you
Loco. That's what it
I guess we
sounds
should
like.
also explain. Should we explain stands? Or should we do it later?
Bro, okay. If you're watching the JoJo's Part 7 book club / review and you don't know what a stand is, get
I mean, like,
lost. Get
stands
lost.
in
Get
this
lost.
like parts
Nah,
content.
stands make sense. Well, they don't make sense in the sense that God knows, only Iraqi knows how these things fucking work, but they're the same thing. Some people are born with them. Some people got to put the body of Jesus Christ inside of themselves. I mean, listen.
It's a little inconsistent.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Poco
Cut himself
Loco.
on an arrow.
He doesn't have like a body part, so we can only assume he was born
He
with
was
his.
just born with one, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Does he even name it? I don't think he names it.
Dude, Poco Loco's not important.
I
No,
know.
I don't
It's,
know.
it's
Araki
funny.
was cooking and he must have forgot, or maybe there was like huge delays and he was like, I just can't. The room for Poco Loco's gone now. Like, I don't know. I have no idea. But Poco Loco, whatever, you know? Fucking.
Yeah, but besides Poco Loco, we meet Johnny. Uh, we meet Johnny like right after Gyro gets like robbed because Johnny sees Gyro fucking reduce a man to like immediate like death in like a minute, and he's like, "What the fuck? How did you do that with a fucking ball?" And he's like trying to figure out what Gyro what his deal is with his steel balls, and Gyro doesn't like that. In fact, I'm pretty sure he tells him like fuck off
No, he
and
does.
threatens him. I'm
When
pretty
he
sure.
hits him with the ball, too.
Yeah.
He's like, get the fuck out of here, man. And then Johnny doesn't, and he slams Johnny with a ball. And Johnny's like, oh my god, that was amazing. I need to figure out how the steel balls work.
Make some stand for a second. Fall out of
Yeah,
his chair.
because Johnny's
Yeah.
crippled. For anyone who doesn't know, I mean, you should
Yeah,
know, but
he got
he
shot.
got shot in the
He got shot by a
side.
fucking loser because he tried to cut in line at a
Not even
movie.
try to. He did cut in line. He pushed him out of the line and said, "Look at this fucking loser!" And then he got shot in the back. Which, like, is it really worth it, man? Was it really worth shooting a guy in the back over?
You ride horses, bro. No, I mean,
Johnny shouldn't have done it. Johnny shouldn't have done it. I'm not saying Johnny. Yeah.
look, he's like, oh, this famous guy just shoved me out of line. I'm gonna fucking shoot him.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Hey, horse jockey's back in '67 though, man. Oh, 1867. You know, I mean, shit. The only form of entertainment America has. So that's a high deal right there. Right? You don't want to fuck with no horse jockeys. Okay. That's all I'm saying. Listen. All right, that's all I'm saying. But
Oh yeah, and we see Gyro has a grill.
Gyro
Yeah,
does have
Gyro has a
grills.
grill with his fucking name on it.
That's just how cool Gyro is. Okay, that
It's a
radiates an energy that, like, I don't think any real man can ever achieve.
Just give someone with a shit-eating grin with a smile with your name on it. Like that's just
I feel like
bizarre.
if you saw someone with that in real life, they'd be such a fucking loser. But something about Gyro just does it right, you know?
For real.
Another funny thing, Avdol, like named Avdol, appears in the first 10 chapters.
Yeah, then
Uh,
loses.
Yeah, he gets hit with like a fucking tree branch. I'm pretty sure, right?
I
Something
think
like
so,
that.
yeah. I mean, he
Or
loses
Gyro
really
hits him with a
early.
ball.
No, he runs into like a bunch of fucking cactuses.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
alive, though, which is better than his Part 3 fate, so...
Okay, he just
Yeah,
got bodied.
Yeah, Johnny also he sees this happen. He sees Gyro fuck up Avdol. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, at
I've
this
written
point,
that
Johnny's
in
just kind of, like, chasing Gyro through the steel
Yeah.
ball race, because... Like, Johnny wasn't even going to participate. I think he was there to watch. Because,
Yeah, I was there
you know,
watching and he ran into Gyro.
yeah, and then he, like, Gyro moved his legs, and Johnny was like, holy shit, I have to follow this man. And then Johnny buys a horse and, you know, signs up for the steel ball race, and then just kind of just chasing Gyro across the country for a little bit. Until they kind of become chill. They kind of become homies within their mutual hatred for Dio, who is just, like, better at racing than both of them. And that's really, like, that's all Dio does for the first, like, I want to say 30 chapters, is he's just better.
Yeah, he just races better. I think he's always in the top 5 for like the first
Yeah.
3 or 4 stages. I think it's the 5th stage where the thing happens and he gets, you know, he gets a
Plenty of
little,
things happen.
a little silly.
But moving on from the beginning, we get to when the real meat of it happens, which I think is when, kind of like the first time you see Mountain Tim, and like, well, for some reason I can't remember why. I could just check my notes, but I'm not going to. There's a bunch of corpses. They find a bunch of corpses
A
in the Steel
murder.
Ball race. Yeah, there's a murder. And Mr. Steel, the proprietor of the race, the guy who started the race and is running the race, he finds these corpses and he calls up Mountain Tim, who I think Mountain Tim was just in the race, but he was in the race as like a plant in case they needed like a detective. And they're like, "Hey, you need to solve this murder." And Mountain Tim's like, "Absolutely," because he's the most cowboy of cowboys. But he thinks it's
Cowboy.
Johnny and Gyro. I'm pretty sure he thinks it's Johnny and Gyro. So he's kind of like chasing them, and then they get caught up with, I can't remember the family's name, but that goofy ass family who has like the stands, and they're trying to kill Johnny and Gyro. And then Mountain Tim is there, and he's like, "I'm gonna get you, murderers!" And then Johnny and Gyro are like, "It's not fucking us! It's not us! We're being murdered!" And then Mountain Tim turns into a rope, because that's his stand ability. He's a rope man. And that's kind of, I think that was the first interaction, like that little group is the first actual interaction with stands.
Yeah, it is. Because they're called the Boom Booms, by the way. I just checked my notes.
Because they do explosions and shit.
Yeah, Tim wasn't initially chasing after the duo, Johnny and Gyro. The Boom Booms planted evidence
That's what it is.
using Johnny's horseshoe, and that's how he got on their trail. But yeah, the Boom Booms, I'm pretty sure, are the first stand fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're the first ones to go after the duo. Actually, no, before them there was that other
That
what was
one
their name?
crazy chick, right?
Yeah, that one fucked up
Robin.
guy.
Check my
Yeah,
notes.
Robinson.
Oh,
Robinson
yeah.
like lured Johnny and Gyro to like a cactus patch and used his like fucking bug stand to like pick up the needles, or not pick up the needles. It was like a specific cactus type that shot needles out as a defense mechanism, and he used his bugs to trigger them and shoot Johnny and Gyro. And that was their first,
That's their first
like, enemy
interaction
stand
with a
user.
fucking enemy stand users.
And then the steel ball.
Yeah, there's a lot of steel balls, and this is kind of where you get Gyro's backstory about how his family. Well, you kind of get it peppered throughout all of the manga. Like different bits are dropped throughout the entirety of it, but Gyro, the Zeppeli family have these steel balls that they use, and they're also executioners for like the king of Italy. But Gyro, he's told to murder like a 5-year-old who's very clearly innocent, and Gyro was like, "I'm not gonna kill him. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna win the steel ball run, or the race, and then you're gonna have to let the kid go free." So that's kind of that's his whole deal with this race and why he's racing and why he gives a shit.
Yeah, that is his motivation for the entire manga.
Entire
to save,
manga.
Yep.
Until the
Marco.
end.
Marco.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotta pay his bail.
yeah, and then also
Yeah, which is $50 million,
a lot of
by
money.
the
It's
way.
an unachievable amount of money if not for the race.
For
which
like
is why he
an
needs to-
8-year-old shoe shiner
Yeah.
who happened to accidentally shoe shine some like traders
Traitor, yeah, some
like shoe.
insurrectionists.
Yeah. So he got blamed for it
And then
after they murdered
that
the guy already.
around this time, around these chapters is kind of when Gyro finally starts to like Johnny. It really takes like the first 20 chapters for them to actually become friends. And then he starts to teach Johnny about the spins.
Mm-hmm.
This is also when they start screaming at each other a lot. Very specifically to get on their horses, which we, for the past like month and a half, have been just screaming at each other for no reason. And it's every time. It's every single fight in these, like, in the first like 50 chapters. It's every fight where they're like, "Get on your fucking horse! Get on your horse!" And they're like dying. They've been shot like 7 times. Johnny's crippled. He can't get on the horse.
Gyro, what the fuck?
You get that a lot. You get a lot of, "What the fuck is happening?" Funny moment after Gyro gets absolutely obliterated. He gets a contact in Italy who's like, "Go find this super secret cure for your leg that just got completely blown off." And they find a zombie horse that's actually like like stitches in a wall, and Gyro pulls it out of the wall and starts stitching his leg back together, and it magically heals. And while he's doing that, Johnny's like, "What the fuck are you doing? There's a horse in the wall. You're putting it in your leg. Why the fuck are you?" Yeah, he's just like losing his mind, and that's every interaction they have. And it's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I love it every time. They truly are that duo who like enable each other. Because Johnny and Gyro have conversations with other characters, and it's normal as fuck. It's the most normal conversation I've ever seen.
They talk like normal people.
And then they talk to each other, and they're screaming and freaking out. And anytime Gyro tells a joke, even if the joke makes absolutely no fucking sense, Johnny will hype that man up to the ends of the earth.
And I'm gonna write that down.
It's Johnny, I've got a joke. I gotta tell you. I've got a joke. Tells the stupidest joke, and then Johnny's like, "Oh my god, dude, that was fucking amazing! Holy shit!" And there's a whole, I think it's like 2 chapters that are just that. 2 separate chapters that are 2 separate jokes. And I won't lie, they are kind of funny, but they don't make any sense.
They don't, because they're written by like a 50-year-old Iraqi.
I mean, I don't think he's trying to make it be funny. Like Pizza Mozzarella, everyone knows online, and like it's nothing. Gyro's singing about pizza and mozzarella, and then Johnny's like, "Dude, that's the greatest song I've ever heard," and you're just like, what?
It's the worst thing because he's not like smiling or laughing. He says it with a completely
he looks
straight
like he
face.
hates it. He looks like, and honestly,
he looks like he wants to kill Gyro.
If not for the other chapter where he does hype up his joke, I would think he was saying it sarcastically. But I genuinely believe he thinks it's the greatest thing he's ever heard. Because it happens too many times to be like a joke. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if it was really bad, Johnny would call him out on it and be like, "Okay, actually that was shit, my man." But instead, Johnny's so in love with it, and I love it. Just a true bromance, all right? Just 2 dudes.
Do you know what a bug bite fetish is?
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
So this is when things start escalating. They find the corpse parts, and this is where Johnny... Well, first of all, Johnny gets a stand like 25 chapters into the manga, which is a long time to go without a stand, I should add. Like, Johnny's just been shooting people up until with a fucking gun.
Yeah, he just had a gun, yeah.
A strap.
But then he gets his stand Tusk, which allows him to shoot his fingernails and his toenails, but mainly his fingernails.
I feel like they do the toenails like once.
He doesn't do it a lot. He does.
It's kind of hard to do when you can't move your legs.
I think that's why. It's just like, well, they're nails, so he could shoot him. But he always points his fingers like he's pointing a gun. You know, he's always got his finger posed, like he's shooting a pretend gun, and I love it. Mm-hmm. Gyro does not get a stand though. Gyro does end up getting a corpse part. He gets the eyeball. At least for a little bit, he gets the eyeball, but no stand from him. And this is well, we'll get to it. This is when shit starts to. It gets crazy, okay? Because now the protagonist got stands. They're in the JoJo's shenanigans time. All right. Johnny decides he wants to find all the corpse parts. That he makes that his decree. He's like, you know what? I don't care about winning this race. I'm gonna figure out the secrets of the spin, and I'm gonna keep all these corpse parts away from the bad guys.
Yeah, because I think. When he first awakens Tusk, his legs twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes him like freak out because like my legs move.
He doesn't really notice it though. He notices it when Gyro does it, but I don't think he notices it with Tusk because they bring that up a lot. Like the narrator brings it up, where the narrator's.
There's some scenes where Johnny mentions like, "Oh my god, did my legs just move?"
I think he only remembers it like after the battle because I think he awakened it while Gyro's getting fish hooked by the fucking frog guy.
Yeah, they fight a fucking fish hook stand, and it's.
What was his name?
I just called him Gachen because that's all he said for like the first 2 chapters he appeared in.
Let me read my notes.
I don't think he says his name.
I'll find it. They do kill a Stroheim.
Oh yeah,
Poor
that
cat.
was for like
They
one chapter.
murder Stroheim.
Yeah, he shows up. He like jumps Johnny and Gyro.
Also, we kind of start getting Funny Valentine, the president of the United States stuff here. We find out he forced Steel to set up this whole race so he could find the corpse parts. Now we don't really know why the president wants the corpse parts, but we know he wants them. I'm trying to see if I can get this guy's name. Wire. They call him Wire. That's it. So fishhook guy, he's named Wire. After the fishhook though, we get scary monsters.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we get more Dio content, where Dio finally gets Dio gets his stand, and it's him turning into a dinosaur. But we also kind of learn that it's not his stand, and it's actually someone named Ferdinand's stand. And then they kill Ferdinand, and then Dio keeps the stand.
Yeah.
It's
That
like
made no sense.
no, it well they say like it wasn't Dio's stand, and then he just kept because he got a corpse part. He kept a residual of the stand, and it has now become his stand. Because I don't think Ferdinand could turn into a dinosaur. Ferdinand could make dinosaurs, if I remember correctly.
He made them.
But Dio can make them and turn into them, which is kind of like Dio's thing. Great stand though, by the way. Scary Monsters.
Very cool.
Cool as hell. Dio in part 7 is cool because we get his backstory, and he's not like the worst person alive. It's not like part 1 and 3 Dio where you're like, Jesus Christ, man. He's got an understandable backstory, and he's not a terrible person. Stewie.
It's kind of like the inverse of our Dio, like our previous Dio.
Yeah.
Because he had like a good family, but they were just poor and they couldn't do
Yeah, they just had a
anything.
bad life.
Yeah.
Still all out for himself though. He's not
Oh, yeah,
like a bad
totally.
person, but everything's for himself. He no time for friends or anything. And also, I'll throw the image on screen. So we just said the image. Where Dio's like, I was wondering why. Or are you wondering why I was eating those rocks? Because he just at one point just starts eating rocks and then tries to play it off like that's a thing people do. He's like, people eat rocks. What do you mean people don't eat rocks? Like, and it's
Yeah, he's kind of like insane when he when he's
Scary Monster.
yeah,
Just
when
going
he's
crazy.
thrall of scary monsters and not like the user of it. He kind of
Yeah,
acts
he
like a
starts going
dinosaur.
insane, and then a bear shows up, and they start freaking out because there's a bear, and there's like, why is there a bear? I don't, who knows? There's a bear though, and they're losing their minds. Dio's trying to eat them.
Dio
move a
kills
muscle.
the bear and then turns it into a fucking T-Rex.
Oh yeah, and then they do the whole like, dinosaurs can't see you if you don't move kind of thing, and it. Bear.
They don't just do that. That's like Dio's weakness
Well, yeah,
for
that's how
that
they beat
entire
him.
arc.
Which is like, okay, fine, I guess. It's sure. I do like that. I think it was Johnny doesn't know what dinosaurs are though.
Yeah.
Johnny's like, what the fuck? And then Gyro's like, dog, you don't know what a dinosaur is, my man? Are you
Man.
stupid? Which is kind of funny. Then we meet Hot Pants. Coming out of Scary Monsters.
God.
We meet Hot Pants. What do you guys think of Hot Pants? What's the thoughts?
Well, we met Hot Pants, and we met briefly met with the Higashikata guy.
Oh yeah, the Higashikata he comes back.
No,
in part eight.
Higashika's later. He's after.
Well, I think
was.
he's
No,
mentioned.
I meant
You've
like
seen-
he at the water barrel thingy, or whatever.
That's
I don't-
after. That's after we
That's
first meet
after?
Hot Pants. That's way after.
Yeah.
That's after the whole fucking what's his name? Let me check my notes. I forget. It's after Ringo. It's
after
way
Ringo.
after
It's after
Ringo.
Ringo and Blackmore. I'm looking at my notes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. I'm silly.
You're an idiot.
More.
Yeah, but then we meet Hot Pants, who has a flesh gun, flesh canister that sprays flesh. That's her stand.
I think it's called just She calls it like 8 different things throughout the
Meat
manga.
spray.
Yeah, meat
She calls it meat
spray.
spray. She calls it cream.
Listen,
Uh,
it's weird.
it's,
That's her stand. Also, Hot Pants is a girl, which like is kind of a secret. But Johnny
it,
accidentally touches her boobs because she goes unconscious, and Johnny's like, "Oh, you're a girl, okay." And it's like, "Oh, all right." It's never really brought up. It doesn't really matter. It's just like
I mean, he kind of develops a thing
Matters
for
for
her.
her lore.
it matters to the lore, but it's not like this big like, "Oh my God, Hot Pants is a girl." You're just kind of like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure," like whatever. But then they meet Ringo, and I don't know about you guys, but this is the first arc for me where I was like truly in love. I mean, Scary Monsters was good, but it's called True Man's World. I
That shit
fucking
was
loved
awesome.
it.
I like
It's
True Man's World so much.
yeah. Just in it, you get this. It's a lot of gyro growth. Is really what it is. It's all gyro growth because like Johnny and Gyro have a conversation where Johnny's like, "Bro, you don't want to win, dog." Like he's like yelling at him. He's like, "Gyro, you don't fucking get it. You have to want to win." And Gyro's like, "What are you talking about, bro?" Like Gyro doesn't understand what's going on. But then when they meet Ringo, who's just a Western character, straight up just like a Clint Eastwood, I'm just gonna shoot you a lot kind of
Yeah,
guy.
he lives in a cabin, and when we first meet him, there's a guy trying to duel him because his ability allows him to rewind time, kind of like the opposite of King Crimson. He basically rewinds 5 seconds, and that's what he uses to like win duels. So when the guy tries to duel him, he gets immediately like just bodied like
Yeah.
instantly in front of the in front of Hot Pants and Johnny and Gyro. And obviously the other three don't know what's going on. And Ringo, once he shoots him, he just goes, "All right," and walks back into his like cabin.
Just straight back into his house. Um, but then like Johnny, Gyro, and Hot Pants see this, and they're like, "Let's just get the fuck out of here." But they keep going in like a loop through like the woods, and they don't know what's going on. So they eventually go to Ringo, and Ringo's whole thing is he just wants to fight Johnny. He's like, Johnny's got those killer eyes. He's a like that's it's a murderer in there. I want to fight him. But then Gyro's really pissed about it, so Gyro tries to fight him, and he just ruins Gyro, brings Gyro down a step, if you will, just shoots the fuck out of him. He goes to fight Hot Pants, destroys Hot Pants, destroys Johnny, and then like drags them into his house. I don't know why.
Because Hot Pants and Johnny had the parts. That's what they wanted.
That's true.
as
Ringo,
well.
yes, Ringo was working for Funny. And he's like, "Oh, you guys have got corpse parts, cool." And then Gyro stands up. He's got like 10 bullet wounds because he's a JoJo's character, and you can just live that in this universe. And he like walks into his house. I'll throw some panels on screen. There's some great panels of just like Gyro in the door, JoJo posing, and then Ringo's like, "Listen, man, if you fucking come in here, you're gonna get fucked up." And then Gyro doesn't care. Gyro continues to walk forward, and they have a cool ass Western duel between gun and steel ball. I don't know. I really like this arc a lot for some reason.
Yeah.
It's
Gyro ends up using his ability against him too. Because his
Yeah.
ability, it's hard to explain. 'Cause
it doesn't make any
haven't read
sense.
anymore.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a JoJo
He-
stand.
Yeah, it kind of rewinds like the people around him, and they remember it. Unlike
Yeah.
fucking King Crimson, where he when he fast forwards, they don't know what the fuck's going on.
It really doesn't.
So
make
Gyro
any-
remembers something like a structural weakness in the house and uses that against Ringo, who didn't notice it, and wins the duel. It's a lot cooler on
It's not
on
cool.
page.
And well, it's one of those scenes where he's like, "Fuck, you missed." He's like, "Yeah, you didn't even hit me." And then Gyro's like, "Actually," and then he gets fucking
Yeah,
murdered.
he pulls the classic JoJo.
We also get a lot of Lucy around this time.
Yeah,
I'm
we
looking at
haven't
my
mentioned
notes.
Lucy.
A lot of Lucy shows up here.
How
Lucy
do we
Steele, I should say.
explain this?
So we can cover the backstory now. So Lucy Steele is, what is she, 14? She's
She is
14.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lucy is married to Mr. Steele, who's like 40,
50.
50. Thank you. And
Old.
when it starts, you're like, ew. You know, it's like, that's disgusting. But by the end of the manga, you find out that actually, Mr. Steele, who I think is cool, I like
Yeah,
Mr. Steele.
I like.
He was in like the
redeemed himself.
military, and he was like saved by Lucy's dad. Like Lucy's dad gave him money when he was homeless. So when Mr. Steele eventually made a shit ton of money, he went to like Lucy's house and was like, "Hey, I'm here to pay you back. Thanks for helping me." And he's like, "Well, actually, like Lucy's dad is like, well, we just gave away our daughter, so we don't actually need money anymore." So then Mr. Steele, like a badass, goes and saves Lucy, and then it's kind of like Lucy's like, "Well, let's like I want to live with you. You're cool." And Mr. Steele's like, "Okay." And that's their relationship. Lucy's like, "You're awesome," and Mr. Steele's like, "You're great too. Let's be friends that are married on paper." And that's it. They don't like. It's
Yeah,
not disgusting, is what I'm saying. It's
To
okay.
elaborate a little more, the reason Lucy's father sold her away is because they owed money to the fucking mafia. Which,
It'll happen.
yeah, they don't ever say why they owed money. They just do. Actually, I think they do, but it's like
Does it
one sentence
matter?
explanation. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
it's like whatever.
And after Steele goes through with the like on paper marriage, he like says to Lucy's face, like vows her, he's like, I'm never going to like touch you or bother you. You can go to school if you want, and if you meet someone that you fall in love with, I won't bother you about it. He basically just vows to just be her like
Dad.
second guardian,
Yeah,
like godparent,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's their little thing.
But she says she'll never do that because she like loves him too much.
Yeah.
So she's her side. I always thought her side was a little weird because like she kind of does like love him, whereas Mr. Steele's more like you're like a daughter, kind of like it's someone It's like a. I think Mr. Steele kind of treats her as like a niece.
Yeah. It's something like that.
It is a weird relationship, but Mr. Steele doesn't touch her because he's a cool guy, except for the fact that he works for the evil president of the United States. But
We'll get to that.
we'll get to that. So we get about Lucy, and Lucy starts figuring out that the president's a bad guy, essentially, and that the president's gonna kill Steele if Steele doesn't like get the corpse parts in time or whatever. So then Lucy steals a message, like a little letter that was supposed to go to Funny, and then Lucy's like, "Holy shit! I found the spine. I need to go deliver it to." I don't remember why she ends up being like, "Oh, I should give it to Johnny Joestar and Gyro."
Tim
Mountain Tim.
tells her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tim
that's
tells
right.
her,
Mountain Tim
trust
comes
him.
and saves her and is like, "Let's go find Johnny Joestar and Gyro. They're over there." And Lucy gets on a horse and she runs away. And when this happens, Blackmore shows up.
Yeah,
And he just
Blackmore's
murders
like-
Mountain Tim. Rest in peace, a true man. Rest in peace, a real one.
He murders him the coldest way possible.
It's cool. It is very sick. Blackmore's
Yeah,
stand
Blackmore.
is dope, by the way.
Yeah, he's like Valentine, which is the president. He's like his personal mook, basically, for a little bit, like his personal hitman.
Yeah.
Most of the
Stand
enemy stand
for
users
that.
are that, but Blackmore is explicitly that. Like he doesn't even participate in the race. He just works for Valentine.
Yeah. He's like his number one bodyguard. Also, Nolan, can you move the mic closer to your mouth a little bit, by the way?
Yes.
Hey, all
My
right,
bad.
cool. Also, his stand is Catch the Rainbow. Or just Rainbow, I think. The arc is called Catch the Rainbow, but
Yeah.
it makes
I'm
it like
pretty sure the whole
rain,
thing's catch.
right? That's what it is?
Rainbow.
It's like, it makes him, like, he
No,
can, he becomes,
controls
like,
the
rain.
rain.
He can control rain. It's one of those stands everyone memes on JoJo's for, where it's like, if I step on an ant every other Tuesday night, I become God. That's the kind of stand Blackmore has, where it's like, on this specific day and this specific moment, I can do a thing. Still, he's kind of cool, except for the fact that, so he kills Mountain Tim, chases after Lucy. Lucy finds Johnny and Gyro, who have no idea what's going on and don't understand why Lucy is there, and then Blackmore shows up and tries to kill them, and then they just immediately wipe the floor with him. Just like he's nothing. Just get out of, like, he's so dead so fast.
You're skipping over the because Lucy has a run-in with him and shoots him a couple times.
Sure, Mountain Tim I think also hits him a couple times, but like, you think he would do more. He doesn't really, outside of killing Mountain Tim. Me and Stewie talked about this a lot when Stewie was reading it, but like, he just kind of dies.
I was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
It also doesn't help because there was like this whole arc. There was like a big storm coming in, which allowed Blackmore to use his powers.
Yeah.
Because that's how he gets his powers. It has to be raining, and the storm was like ending towards the end of this chapter. So he basically just ran out of his power.
Yeah, everything's against Blackmore. He kind of sucks.
Which
but
is
like,
a shame,
sure, Mountain Tim shoots him a couple times.
Cool.
Lucy shoots him a couple times. And then Johnny Gyro
shoots him a lot.
Well,
she empties
but
like an entire revolver.
I don't know. The way he's hyped up is my thing. Like, he's so hyped up. He's like, he's the #1 guy who works for Funny. You know, Funny trusts him. He's bad. He kills Mountain Tim. Mountain Tim was dope. You know, like, Mountain Tim was one of the first stand users we saw. And then he just gets ruined. And you're just like, okay. I remember when I first read it, I thought he'd come back. I was like, oh, he's going to show back up. It's going to be crazy when he shows back up and he's, like, powerful or something. Nah. That's a dead motherfucker right there.
He's very dead.
Same with Mountain Tim. I thought Mountain Tim was going to come back because JoJo's characters do that, you know, where they're like, actually, I survived. Nah. Mountain Tim, also equally dead. Kind of a shame.
When people die in this manga, they typically are dead forever.
Yeah,
there's no requiem. There's no golden.
Actually, I was alive. Where you're like, I faked
no diamond unbreakable. It's just death.
Well, Hot Pants is actually basically Hot Pants has magic
Hot Pants
healing
can
powers.
only heal when they're wounded, not when they're dead.
Yeah, but I mean,
making new flesh.
Yeah, but like you could
Johnny gets shot in the fucking head.
Yeah, and then Hot Pants sprays some sunscreen on him, and then he stands back up like it never happened. So like,
that's fair.
But like, you can't come back from like death in this one. Like when characters die, they typically stay dead in this part. But there are Johnny and Gyro get fucked up every arc, and then when they have Hot Pants with them, she'll just give him a little spray, a little shake of her spray can, and it's like nothing ever happened to him. But after killing Blackmore, they get the spine. So right now they have, I think it's the arm and the spine because the eyeball gets taken.
Yeah, Gyro gives it away to Lucy so she can track down the president's heart, which is the only part he has in him at the moment, I believe.
The president has the heart, and that's the only thing. Well, he did have the spine until he fucking lost it because he's a loser. We'll get to Funny though. We get a lot of Dio here because Dio decides to work with the president, and he's like, "Hey, just give me all of New York. I want to run New York."
He asked for it,
and the president's like, "I don't."
It's
I love that the president's like, I can't do that. He's like, I don't know what you like, because normally with like evil villains, they're like, yeah, I'll give you New York, but the president's like, that's just not how that works. Like, I can give you money, or like power, but I can't just give you a state. And Dio does not care. He was like, give it to me, and the president's kind of like, all right, man, sure, like okay, just give me this corpse part. Yeah, he's like, oh. And then we get Johnny backstory about his pet mouse named Danny, who's a little sweet guy, but Johnny's dad does not like Danny and says he should throw Danny away in the woods, but Johnny doesn't want to do that. So
he doesn't say throw him away in the woods. He tells Johnny to drown him.
He's like, kill that fucking mouse. But Johnny has an older brother named Nicholas who also raises horses, and Nicholas is like, nah, man, just set him free in the woods. He'll be chill. Except the next day when Nicholas is racing on his horse, Danny fucking comes out of nowhere, scares the horse, and then Nicholas gets killed. He fucking dies in this like horsing accident. And from then on, Johnny obviously has some PTSD, and then Johnny's dad is a fucking piece of garbage who like hates Johnny. Johnny's dad was pissing me off. I was gonna be honest. I was getting mad. Oh, and then
Hey,
the
he got pushed into a bookcase or whatever.
yeah,
So
they
it's
push
okay.
him into a bookcase, and he's like, you'll never be as good as your brother." And then we also find out that in his childhood, Johnny had a connection to Dio because he would see Dio race horses, and he was like, "Damn, I want to
Yeah,
beat that guy."
I'm pretty sure Dio was the one racing Nicholas
I think
that
he
day too when
was.
he died.
Yeah, I think he was. And right after this, as I've seen it in my notes, is when we get Gyro explaining the perfect rectangle and the secret to infinity.
Yeah. Here
So
we
this is when
go.
I tab out. This is when I, already not understanding how the steel ball works, completely lose it. Okay, at this point, I don't know.
Golden ratio. All
Yeah, you
right.
got to achieve like the right spin and
Infinity.
the right speed, and then you get access to infinity, and it's cool as hell. And then Sandman shows up, and he like fucks Gyro up, but right before Gyro goes unconscious, he's like, "You gotta master the spin, Johnny."
Yeah,
Ugh.
Johnny has to like say a phrase 3 times,
Yeah,
like
there's a whole training
hype
montage.
himself
Yeah,
up.
or
Yeah,
not montage, but a whole training sequence. It's funny. But then, like, as he's asleep, you get a very JoJo's moment where Johnny's like dying, and he's like, "I don't fucking know." He's just freaking out because he's just getting fucked up by Sandman, whose name is actually Soundman, and Sandman's like a mistranslation that white people give him, and so his
Yeah.
real name is Soundman. So, I think Sandman's the cooler name.
yeah.
Mainly because
Sandman
it's a
is
Metallica
actually
song, but and that's what he's named after is the Metallica song. And he also goes by Sandman longer than he goes by Soundman because spoilers, fucking Johnny kills him. Fucking the dude gets fucked up.
yeah. Johnny uses the golden ratio and shoots him in like the fucking throat.
Yeah, he dies. Johnny was like brutally fucked up though. Passes out. Both him and Gyro are passed out. They're dying. Hot Pants shows up, heals them, but then takes all the corpse parts. So now they got no more corpse parts. So we're kind of back to square one here. And it kind of sucks that they lose their corpse parts, but they do keep their. Well, Johnny keeps Tusk, and Gyro obviously never really had a stand, so he's fine, and they can still
Just
see stands.
balls.
Yeah, you just throw the
Yeah.
balls. But this is we go to the Promised Land, Sugar and Mountain, which is the arc, and then we get a little girl who has a tree, and this tree will give you things. It trades. It's like a barter. You give it something, and then it gives you something of like proportionate, like size and weight. Right? That was kind of how it like.
Uh, yeah. It was like you would give it something, it would give you the most valuable like thing that is like closely related to that. An example would be when they give her paper, she gives them a lot of money.
Yeah, they get a shit ton of money. They give it rabbit's ears, and they get the corpse part ears. So they're trading shit for shit here. They're also screaming at this little girl, and I
Yeah.
feel kind of bad because she's like blind, right?
She's like nearsighted
Yeah,
blind. I don't
yeah.
think she's completely blind.
Yeah.
So like they're just screaming at her and like clearly taking advantage of like her. Like they're just not listening to her because she's like, something's wrong with the stand," and they're like, "Whatever, little girl. Like, okay."
Shut the fuck up.
But then they realize, and she kind of tells them that if they don't give up everything the stand gave to them by sunset, they will become part of the tree, which is the stand. So they immediately go to the nearby town and they just start gambling. That's like step number one is trying to buy shit. So they buy like 2 massive apartment buildings, but then it's like, oh, that wasn't any money. They didn't spend any of their money. So then they have the idea, we're like, well, let's go gamble. But then they keep winning more money. So now they have to get rid of more money. And nothing is going well for either of them. And then they get attacked by like a hitman in this casino. And it's honestly one of my favorite like single two
Yeah,
chapters
dude.
because it's just a gunfight in this casino, and like you don't expect it at all. There's no stand power. The guy's stand power is that he can make like clones of himself, and that's
Yeah,
it.
he's just called the 11 Men. That's all he
Yeah.
does.
So they're just shooting each other. Johnny's like shooting his fingernails, and then he runs out of him, and he's like, Gyro, I'm out of fucking fingers. You know, we gotta do something. Gyro's throwing steel balls everywhere. Heads are getting blown off. Like, I think Gyro ends up picking up a gun and is just like blasting fuckers. Shit's fun,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying. Okay, this manga's very brutal. I mean, JoJo's always been brutal, but like,
Yeah, people get murdered.
yeah, they get murdered a
like
lot.
there's a lot of excessive violence,
Especially
A lot
even
of
because,
for a
like,
JoJo
brains
part.
and
a lot of brains.
guts.
Well, there's no like punching. Every other JoJo's part is like punching, so it was never like gory. Like, yeah, people would die, but it'd be after getting punched for 7 pages. Whereas in this, it's like, no, they just shot their brains out. Oh, and then they also just kept shooting them. Like, they didn't stop with the headshot. They unloaded the fucking revolver, which is a welcome change for JoJo's. I think it makes it very interesting when the protagonists don't give a shit. You know, they're not like high schoolers. They're like, no, we'll just kill you. You shot at us? Okay, you're gonna die now, sir. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember how this arc ends. They end up killing
It
the
ends.
guy. Oh no, you got it.
No, they hired the
That's right.
They're like, man, we still got this money, and there's like a bunch of fucking mercs in the casino, and they're
Yeah.
like, hey, you know, they just pretty much buy them. They buy
Yeah,
a bunch of
because
bodyguards.
yeah, Gyro buys them off because he was wounded, so he traded them a little bit for some medical supplies to sew himself up, and then he buys them off like you said. But they still have the corpse parts, so Gyro starts becoming part of the tree once they exit the casino. So Johnny has to trade those with the stand user who survived.
Yeah, and it's
So
a
he gives them
very
both the corpse parts, and they live.
it's a very like kind of sad moment because Johnny doesn't like because you think Gyro's gonna die. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys had that thought, but like Gyro's almost part of the tree, and Johnny's like, I don't know what to do. Fuck, and he's just like losing his mind and it's like snowing, and it looks really cool. And then we get a lot of Lucy right after that, and it immediately cuts to Lucy, where we find out that the first lady, that's right, Funny Valentine, somehow is married. I honestly was not expecting that. When I read it, I was like, "Oh, really? Like this guy? Okay, sure." You know,
I
like
didn't expect
mean-
him to be in his 40s.
no, he does look younger. He doesn't look that old, which I suppose can be explained later when we get to it. I think that I guess you could stand magic or something, but we find out his wife kind of into women. At least there's, I mean,
Also
like,
pretty insane.
well, Scarlet for sure. And her name's Scarlet. Very insane, but she's like kind of into women. And also at this point, Lucy is tasked with the job of, I think Hot Pants comes and talks to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hot Pants is like, you gotta get the corpse parts. The president's got the corpse parts. You gotta get those. And Lucy's like, okay. So she becomes friends with Scarlet, almost has sex with Scarlet, knocks her out, and then uses Hot Pants' meat spray to like take her face. So she becomes like Lucy becomes Scarlet, and then she just acts like she's Scarlet for the next. It's like the next like 4 chapters of her being Scarlet and trying to get the corpse parts, but then we find out like, oh yeah, Funny actually does have like he has them all. Oh, that's really bad. Obviously or not all of them, but he has most of them.
Yeah, I think at that point he had the heart, he had both ears, the spine. Yeah, I think he had the arms too, or at least
Yeah.
one of the arms.
Right arm, both ears.
Spine. Because he took all of Hot Pants' parts as well. Like Hot Pants took them from Johnny to keep them away from everybody, and then she loses them. Which is, come on, Hot Pants. You know what I mean? When I was reading that, I was like, really? Like, come on.
There's the whole fight with that one balloon dude.
Yeah, Tubular Bells. I have it written down. I was gonna get to it. Um, this fucking balloon guy shows up, tries to kill Lucy. Hot Pants shows up. Scarlet shows up. I think they kill Scarlet, and then or Scarlet kills herself or whatever. And then Hot Pants is like, "Well, shit luck, Lucy. You're gonna have to role play as Scarlet for the rest of the race. Sorry." And that's just what Lucy does for a little while, and it's very fucked up because she's 14. And Scarlett's like an adult woman who's married to the president of the United States. Like, it's not just some like random chick. She has to be the first lady. Married to a very evil man. But at the very least, Hot Pants steals the corpse parts. So that's kind of, or the ones that Funny had.
And she also takes the blame for being the traitor.
Yeah.
But it doesn't last that long.
No, it doesn't really. We then move back to Johnny and Gyro, who, well, we get fucking Wekapico, who is like the second in line of the Italian executioners. So there's like the Zeppelis, and then there's who we'll just call Weka, because that's just what I.
They weren't executioners; they were their security
Body
detail.
Yeah, but they would do.
They would do execution.
Like Weka talks about it where he's like, if your family fucking fails, then we step in. Like, he really doesn't like Gyro, and he's trying to kill Gyro. And we also get, it's Magenta, right? Or Magenta. Yeah, with 20th Century Boy.
So fucking cool.
Cool stand. Weka doesn't have a stand either. I think he just uses, like, the weird...
Yeah, he has his special steel
his
balls.
steel balls are different.
Yeah.
They beat the shit out of them. Johnny Gyro, well, they kind of get their shit rocked, and then they immediately rock their shit. Magenta, like, he gets fucked up. Spoilers, both Magenta and Weka live, and I don't know how. I mean, Weka kind of, but, like, Magenta, I was like, he's dead. Okay. I was wrong.
Yeah, because fucking Dio finds him and pulls him out.
Yeah.
Of the frozen lake that they fought on.
I was gonna say Magenta stand, 20th Century Boy, cool name. It looks dope. Kind of fucking sucks.
Yeah, all it does is give him invulnerability, but he has to be completely stationary.
It's armor lock.
It's armor lock.
Yeah, it's armor lock. If it just does, it's when they hit the armor lock glitch where it's like, okay, if I unpress this button, they are going to kill me. So I'm just gonna hold it here. And then he comes back later, and they also kind of leave Weka. And Weka's really mad because his sister's dead. And then Gyro goes, dude, your sister's alive, fucking idiot. And then just leaves. Gyro's like, I don't got time for this shit, man. All right.
Also conscripts him to go protect Lucy.
Yeah, he's like, hey, whatever you can stand up after these 10 bullet holes heal, go protect this chick. Because he gets fucked. Weka should be dead. By all accounts, that man should absolutely bleed out in the frozen wastes. But he doesn't. And we also... They do show that Magenta's alive. Like, the chapter before, you're like, okay, he's dead. And then they show he's alive. And it's like, that should absolutely be impossible. But he hears that Lucy is the traitor. And who... Like, he gets information on Lucy. So now he knows, like, when Magenta comes back, he's going to try to get Lucy, but now Weka's going to be protecting Lucy. So you kind of got, like, that doesn't come back till later, but it's set up. You know, you're ready for it, waiting for that shit to happen. But then we get Civil War, which is another arc I really like.
Oh, yeah, that
It was insane.
Because Johnny and Gyro roll up to this place, and they're going to, like, spend the night, and then they find Hot Pants, who's, like, fucked up and, like, nearly dead. And Hot Pants is like, I lost all the corpse parts. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Of course, they don't listen. They're like, what's going on?
They never do.
No, JoJo's characters will say the most clear thing imaginable. Get the fuck out of here. Enemy stand user will kill you. And then the other characters go, what are you talking about? What do you mean? And I love it. But you're like, okay, guys. I think we know what she means. Regardless, they fight Civil War, which I really like this stand.
It's really cool.
Because if you hit him, he, like, transfers
He doesn't transfer
No,
anything. What
he
happens first
Breaks
is
the Lego bricks.
he haunts you, quote unquote, with like your memories of your
yeah, like
past like
sins.
mistakes and sins. Yeah, that's his whole thing, sins. But if you kill him, which Johnny ends up doing once he figures out he has to kill him to like stop this, you get all of his sins. And spoiler, Civil War, he was a soldier. He doesn't say for what army, but basically he allows like a bunch of enemy troops to like go past him one day because he was like a scout, and the enemy troops burn and ransack an entire town with innocent civilians and the rest of his like platoon in the town. So he just has to live with that for the rest of his life after he gets to stay. Always
Yeah,
haunting him.
it's fucked up. We also get Hot Pants' backstory here, and Hot Pants, her and her brother were out chilling in the woods, and they got attacked by a bear, and they try to hide in a cave, and her brother can't like make it into the cave, or almost makes it, and then Hot Pants pushes him into the bear, and he gets this 5-year-old just gets eaten completely. And then Hot Pants goes back to the village like, oh my god, you tried everything to save your brother. I can't believe your brother's dead. That's so sad. And then she becomes a nun. And then it kind of leads to where she is now. So that's like her big sin is murdering her. I know she didn't murder her brother. She's like 6 or 7 or whatever. But, letting her brother die.
He was like 15, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, was she older?
Yeah,
Shit.
and she
Ugh.
pushed him into the van.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
she killed her brother.
Sure. Okay. Um, I don't know why. I don't know what to say after that. I'm trying to think of it. To
Yeah, no,
preface, by
she
the way,
murdered her like 5-year-old brother. It
I'm the
was
one
fucked up.
explaining all of this. I actually finished this manga like a month ago because we were supposed to record this video. It's the 27th of September. Okay, we were supposed to record this on like the 10th. I'm cutting out a little bit here. Not for any watchers, but for these two I was cutting out. But we were supposed to record it on like the 10th or 11th, and it's the 27th. And I finished this on August like 10th. So I've been done with this for a long time. And these two just finished it this week. So you guys are a lot fresher than I am. But I do be looking at my very extensive notes.
Bro got notes.
I do got a lot of notes. We get Gettysburg Dream, by the way. I love these arc titles. All these arc titles,
They're great.
so fucking good.
I'm glad you wrote them down because I stopped writing them down.
Of course I had to write it down. They're so good. I'm like, that's just, wow, it's just great. And Johnny Awakens Tusk V3. And what Tusk V3, we didn't really talk about Tusk V2 because all Tusk V2 does is they all look different. There'll be pictures. But Tusk V2, I think that's where he shoots his toenails. Like Tusk V2 allows him to shoot his toenails and then he can like ride them. Like he can spin them really, you know what I'm saying? Like he spins it really fast and then can like skirt along the ground,
Yeah.
which he uses like twice. Never does that.
I feel like
Yeah,
he
he uses
operates it a
it
lot.
in like one arc, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, and then I just think his nails get better in Tusk V2. Like I think they do more damage or they spin harder or something like that. Like it doesn't do a lot. But then Tusk V3 does a lot more because his nails can create like infinity spin rotation holes and then he can fast travel through said holes. And this is where we get what we were talking about earlier with Civil War, or I think the guy's name was Axl Rose.
Axl.
Or just
Yeah, it's
Axl. It was
Axl.
based off Axl Rose. And
Let me check.
he
His name.
yeah, you can look it
Wait,
up.
scroll down.
But Johnny fucking guns him down, and this is one of Johnny's like, I'm a killer. Like you kind of see this side of Johnny a couple times where he's very much I'm gonna do what I gotta do kind of guy, and that involves killing the shit out of this man, which is when his sins are transferred to him. Also, Jesus talks to Johnny in this moment. We didn't
Yeah,
mention
the
this.
Jesus Genjutsu.
I wrote in my notes, and this is funny. I wrote actual Jesus shows up and talks to Johnny, and then there's a question mark at the end because it's like, what the fuck? Jesus just out of nowhere is like, "Sup, dog," and it's.
Yeah,
do
he
the Rocky
says.
sound sometimes.
I think I wrote down specifically what he
Oh,
says.
you did? You wrote it down?
Let's
He
see.
wrote down.
Oh,
the
I wrote
Jesus-
it as well, actually. If you got it, you could say it, Stewie.
Um, it might take me a second to
All
find
right,
it.
I can say it then. Well, this is like a paraphrase, but he essentially tells him, he says, "Don't shoot. If you don't shoot, it will lead you to a new path." And then Johnny fucking shoots anyways, and he
Yeah,
murders him.
Johnny
Commanders
doesn't listen
do
to him for
not
like a
shoot.
solid like
Yeah,
chapter or two.
he shoots him. This is when all the sins are put onto Johnny, and then Johnny, I don't remember how he does it exactly, but doesn't he? He kills himself, or like,
He shoots himself.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Tusk Act 3. That's what Act 3
yeah,
does.
okay,
It
he,
allows him to use his own nails on himself.
and then also the infinite rotation thing.
Yeah.
But then in him killing himself, his sins are, or the sins that Axel placed on him are like shot back, or they're like put somewhere else or something. You know, they're like gone, and then Johnny's reborn. Because that was also a part of Axel's stand, is that like when he dies, he will come back, but the sins won't be on him anymore. And then because they were put onto Johnny, when he dies, he'll come back to life. And then Funny shows up and murders Axel again, and then takes all the corpse parts. So they're still back to zero. They still got nothing.
Yeah, and the reason he got away from murdering Axel is because Axel's about to kill Johnny again, just out of like rage
Yeah.
and frustration because Johnny got the better of him. And when Val kills him, he's like, "I just saved your life, so I'm free of sin. I did an honorary act." And then he just takes the parts
So
and
he hits him with
fucking
the rule book
leaves.
he shouldn't have. Is when he does, like, he can see the rules, and it doesn't matter. But then we come back to the rest of the race. Dio wins. The race is cut into like sections. We haven't really talked about it. It doesn't matter. Dio
Yeah,
wins
there's
another
11
section.
stages.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
stages.
sure.
This is when Magenta shows back up, and he guns the shit out of Mr. Steel. Like he
Oh my god, it was so cool.
pop, pop, just like pulls up to his carriage, shoots him. Weka shows up.
Dude, it's not even. He shows up. He's like, "Here, hold this ruler,"
Yeah,
and
he
he's trying to
measures
line up
the
his shot because he's like, "Yeah, but I only have one eye. My depth perception's
Magenta's
bad." So he's
quirky.
lining this shot up, small talking.
Magenta's a little quirky guy. And then him and Weka fight, and he's like mad at Weka for betraying him and being a bitch. And Weka's like, "Man, I don't give a shit." And then we'll never see Magenta again because he gets knocked to the bottom of the ocean while activating his stand. So he can either unactivate his stand and die, or stay forever at the bottom of the ocean with his stand activated. So rest in peace,
he,
a
he
real
cars
one?
himself, basically. He
Yeah.
cars himself.
Yep.
It's funny too because as he does it, he's like, Dio will come save me again. I have nothing to worry
Nope.
about. Spoiler alert: Dio
He doesn't
didn't
give a
fucking do that.
He doesn't give a
He
shit.
does not care.
We then get Jesus. This is where we get the Steel and Lucy backstory. But as according to my notes, we also get a lot of Lucy and Funny, where like Funny gets really horny and tries to fuck Lucy, who's Scarlet, and then figures out, but he's kind of like doing it as a ploy because he doesn't trust her. So then he figures out it's, not his wife, and he's almost gonna kill her, and then Lucy gets pregnant with Jesus's skull. I said that's right? That was
There's no better way to explain it.
Yeah.
Verbatim what
Also
happens.
funny.
Yeah.
I wrote in my notes. Funny also talks a lot about the napkin theory. Not gonna bother explaining it in parentheses. In parentheses, I said check the screenshots. So, anyone got the napkin theory on top of their head right now?
No, the person who grabs the first napkin decides which, like, if you pick the napkin, if you're first person to grab a napkin and you pick the one on your right, everyone else has to pick the napkin on the right. If you take the napkin on the left, everyone else has to take the napkin on the left. I don't know. It's being the guy that picks up the first napkin.
Yeah, it's like a hypothetical question. He asked it to Lucy. He's like, say there are two napkins in front of you. Which one would you choose, the right or the left? And then basically,
I pulled it up. I can quote it if we want. So
ahead,
he
quote
asks
it.
that, and then he says the correct answer is that it is determined by the one who takes his or her napkin first. Yes. If the first one takes the napkin to the right, then there's no choice but for the others to also take the napkin to the right. The same goes for the left. Everyone else will take the napkin to their left because they have no other option. This is society. Who are the ones to determine the price of land first? So his whole thing is like with this napkin theory, he wants to be the one to pick. That's kind of funny. His whole thing is he's like, I'm gonna be the one on top. I wanna pick the napkin.
Yeah, but basically apply the napkin principle to like everything, like
Yeah, to society.
money,
Yeah.
like military, like all that shit. He wants to be the first one every single time.
Also, I don't know. I think this is canon. This isn't just the covers, right? He just has the American flag scarred into his back, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
got tortured. He got tortured and he
That's
got
it.
carved into his back.
Okay, because I have that written, but I just have. Also, he has the American flag on his back for some reason. It's just like, oh, fucking got the American flag here. I didn't write down why. I just wrote he did.
And
So
it's not really explained why they were torturing
yeah.
him or why they carved the American flag in his back. It's just there.
At this point, I think we also get his backstory, where he was a part of the military, and then like what do they call? It's like the Devil's Palm or whatever, where they go
Yeah, the
out
devil's
like
spawn.
yeah, him and his unit got into the Devil's Palm, and it's like this notorious place where you go out, you will die, and his unit's like, no, we got this, and then they all fucking die except for him because the heart goes into him. So now he's
Yeah.
yeah, then that's how he lives, and also that's how he gets his stand. And then we get to chapter 62. All right, now we're on chapter 62. We're almost done with the manga, and this is the moment for me at least. This is the beginning of the end because this is the first chapter called Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. And this is where Lucy becomes pregnant. But I mentioned that earlier, but I just got to mention it again. She just becomes pregnant with a skull. And then we also see a glimpse of what we will now call D4C because it's a lot easier than saying Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap over and over again. And then immediately we pivot away from that. Immediately we go to 7 days a week, which is Gyro and Johnny just having the time of their life telling jokes to each other for an entire chapter. Meanwhile, Lucy's having the opposite of the time of her life. Maybe like the worst thing imaginable is happening to her. And then Johnny and Gyro, they're just vibing like guys, you know? Just chilling, hanging out.
Relax.
That's the last time this manga's fun in the sense that like that's the last time you're gonna get any
The last
semblance.
moment of reprieve.
Yeah, because immediately after that we're hit with Chocolate Disco, where they roll up to the final checkpoint. I'm pretty sure is what it is, or it's like this is the final place before the last stretch of the race, and they see Dio, and they're like, "Let's go get him." Let's go kill Dio. Because at this point, they know he's like a bad guy and they know he's got some corpse parts. They're like, let's go beat the shit out of fucking Dio, man. And while they're doing this, they kind of get separated because they can't find Dio's tracks. Like, things are getting wonky. Shit's happening. They don't know what's happening. And Gyro is walking, I believe he's walking up to Dio. Johnny sees a guy behind him. Johnny tries to warn Gyro. Gyro's not listening. And then somebody walks behind Johnny. Johnny goes, "What? You?" And then he gets gunned down. He gets shot like 3 fucking times. And then the chapter just ends there. The next chapter opens, and Johnny gets shot like another 5 fucking times. And then falls into the sewers. So
Yeah, he
he's
like
gone.
digs himself in the sewers using
Yeah.
tusk to
And
get
we also
away.
see his legs move a little bit. And then the person shooting him goes, "Did his legs just move?" And you're like, "What?" And then like that's that. Because then we finally cut back to Gyro. Gyro sees Weka out of nowhere, and you're like, "What's going on with that?" But then Chocolate Disco shows up, which is like a stand that's just a fucked up tic-tac-toe. Kind of. It's like a tic-tac-toe board almost. Like it's got the grids and shit.
Yeah, it's
Stand's
he
fucking
lays out
crazy.
he lays
Coordinate
out like a
point.
big grid on the ground and he has like a like keyboard arm thing. Like
Yeah.
the and then he presses the buttons and corresponding to like the grid points and that's how he activates his stand.
It doesn't matter. Gyro kind of beats him pretty easily. I'm not gonna lie. Like you
Yeah.
seem like it's gonna be really bad, and because at this moment Gyro's like, "Wait a minute, what just happened to Johnny?" Like he kind of realizes something happened to Johnny, and then Chocolate Disco shows up. So he's like, "Okay, I gotta end this quickly." So then we cut back. The chapter titles are now back to being titled D4C, It's like D4C Part 3 or something like that. There's like 10 of these D4C parts. This shit gets insane. But Gyro goes to talk to some kids, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Dio shot your friend." And then he talks to like an old man, and the old man's like, "Oh, Weko did it." And then the other guy's like, "Oh, actually, the president of the United States did it." So Gyro's going insane. Gyro has no idea what's happening. And what about you guys? Did you guys know what the fuck was happening when we
I
were?
was so confused.
Um, I was kind of following. I thought it was Valentine because he was there. Like they show him for like a
Yeah, we
split
know
second,
he's there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I didn't know how he was doing it.
I
I'm
knew
with you guys.
he was doing something.
Did
but
you
I
guys
was
know his stand ability, by the way? I didn't mean to cut you off there.
no, no, I
I
didn't.
knew it had something to do with dimensions or alternate universes. I thought it was like multiverse theory. Like he like actually himself he like transported like people to alternate multiverses or universes, I guess.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it is,
When
but the opposite.
we'll get to it.
Get to
Because then
so fucked up.
immediately, the next chapter is. I'm just gonna read it near verbatim from my notes because if I don't, I think we're all gonna go crazy. We see things from Weka's POV. Someone attacks him. It's the president? Maybe. He's kind of hidden. He shoots them, but all of a sudden Weka's shooting Johnny. Then Dio starts talking to him. Then we get Dio's perspective. He sneaks into the president's building, wants to assassinate the president. He murders a bunch of people, pretends to be a part of the president's guard. It doesn't really go well for Dio, and then he leaves. So then Dio gets attacked by Weka. When he shoots at Weka, Weka turns into Johnny. And then Dio just kills Johnny. And it's at this point, it's who even fucking knows what's happening. Like at this point, I was losing my mind. You know what I mean? Because like you assume that, like we said earlier, the president shot Johnny. That's kind of what you think. And then you're like, oh, Weka shot Johnny. That's weird. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. Dio shot Johnny. I don't know what's going on anymore. However, Dio knows what's going on. Dio knows this is all the president's doing. And he's like, hey, Weka, let's team up and let's go kill the president. And you think it's going kind of well. Until the president reveals what his stand does. And this is a very JoJo's moment. Every JoJo's part has this, where you finally find out what the enemy stand user actually does. And it's the most insane thing you've ever seen in your entire fucking life. Because the president, if he folds himself into like something closing, so like if he's behind a door as the door is closing, or like if he's underneath a flag as the flag is folding underneath him, he can travel dimensions. That's how it works, right? I'm pretty sure I covered it. Yeah.
He goes into a different world, and in that world, he can bring something out of it into the base world. Or, alternatively, he can bring someone into a different world.
We also learn our world is like Prime World, and it's the only world with corpse parts. But other worlds have other things, but they kind of mention they're not as powerful as corpse parts. And then we learn every other funny is working to help this funny to get the corpse parts.
All the funnies are funny.
Which we'll get to more of that later. But he drags Dio and Weka into this other, or it's just Dio, right?
Yeah, he drags Dio into the flag.
He drags Dio into this other world where we see Dio and Weka fighting funny. And it's like, wait a minute, what the fuck? But then the two Dios start meshing together. Very painfully, I might add. Like, they're coming apart as they're smacking into each other. And it's at this moment that our Dio convinces other Weka to, like, help him cross back over to the other universe. And in doing so, he drags the other Weka with him, which murders the real Weka. Both Wekas, really. It murders both of them. They both fucking die.
Up.
It's so fucked up that Dio does that to him, because Weka's just like, oh, I'll help you, Dio, sure, yeah, like, other Weka's like, I got you, man, don't worry about it, and then immediately dies, and Dio doesn't even care. He's just like, whatever, I gotta go kill the president.
Yeah, I think he offhandedly says, thank you, and then just leaves.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's essentially what it is. I wrote in my notes. Dio figures out how to get back before melting, but sacrifices Weka, who fucking explodes. And then we get Ticket to Ride, which is the next arc, again, with these names. I just want to point them out. Oh my god. I love them. Ticket to Ride, like, such a cool arc name. But this is very bad. These very bad things are happening. They all get on a train, or they get on a boat first. It doesn't matter. We'll cut to it. Like, the boat stuff. Lucy and the president, Lucy's still pregnant, get on a boat. They're crossing, like, a river or a lake or something. And then everyone's got to follow them. Johnny and Gyro are like, shit, this is our last chance. Like, they almost give up. Like, Gyro's, they're both kind of like, oh, shit, I don't know. But then they both are like, no, fuck it. We gotta go. We gotta go fight the president and save Lucy. And then Dio and Hot Pants have a very similar situation where Dio and Hot Pants team up, but they don't really care about saving Lucy. Or Hot Pants kind of does, but, like, Dio's like, I just want to murder the president. I just want to go kill the president because that's cool, and I want those corpse parts. So they're all on the way to this train. They're all going to converge onto this train for the final battle, essentially. And we also, this shit gets fucking insane because Gyro starts teaching about the golden rotate. Like, he starts teaching Boar about, like, the perfect fucking rotation and how to, like, achieve the real rotation. And that he, like, tells Johnny that maybe if he can achieve this rotation that he'll be able to move his legs again. I think that's all right? I'm pretty sure that's...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure we're good. So then we cut back to more D4C arc titles. I like pointing that out. So it was like Ticket to Ride, which was like 2 chapters, and then we cut back to it being D4C. And this is when Hot Pants and Dio hop onto the train. And
Yeah.
this shit's dope. Okay, I just want to say them like catching up to the train because you're tense. Like, Araki is so good, in my opinion, at making this like the final arc of every JoJo's thing the most tense thing you've ever seen. Because you don't know who's gonna die. You don't know how they're gonna beat the most insanely overpowered stand possible. It's just, I love it, and I think this is the best one yet for me. I don't know about you guys.
Like, part?
Yeah, I think this is the best part, and I think this is the best for me. I think this is the best like climax as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was kind of iffy halfway through it. I remember you asked me, but after reading the entire thing, I agree. This is my favorite part.
What about you, Nolan?
Um, God, it's hard. The more I've been thinking about JoJo's parts, the more I've been loving part 4 a lot.
Okay, hey, that's a solid
And
pick
I'm
though.
trying to like trying to figure out which villain I like better, Funny or Kira. I don't know.
I mean, I
feel like that's
really
what
like
sets
Diablo from part 5, but I don't know. Funny's ability is just, it's insane.
It's pretty nuts.
Funny's ability is insane. I love Funny as a character. I think he's very interesting. Like, opposite of, or he's not even an opposite. He's a very like, he's like the same coin, different side to Johnny. I feel like they have very similar personalities. I think deep down, it's very interesting to see them, like, why they're actually against each other and their very different motivations. For me, at least, I find that to be very interesting. But enough of that sappy nonsense, okay? Dio and Hot Pants jump on the train, and the president's there. They gotta kill the president, but the president summons a bunch of other presidents, and then he summons 2 other Dios, or 1 other Dio and another Hot Pants. So then they kill those versions of themselves. I'm saying it like it's very easy. None of this is very easy.
Yeah, no, they're like freaking out.
If they're losing their mind, it's really bad. I will say Dio is kicking the shit out of the president. They have a decent strategy here. Like, it's not terrible. Like, he almost kills the president every time, and then, or Funny, and then he'll switch universes. And, like, Funny's, like, healed again. Because part of Funny powers also is that when Funny travels to a different universe, he can, like, give his memories to that universe's Funny, and then that universe's Funny will come back to Prime Universe. So there's like an infinite number of Funnies.
Yeah, but there's only one D4C. That's the caveat.
Yeah, there's one
D4C
D4C.
is the signal, like the single stand. There can't be multiple.
However, it's almost one, right? Dio almost kills the president. He's so fucking close to killing the president. And then the president, like, Dio's prevented him from getting under anything. He's not near any folds, except he falls onto the train track, which allows him to be under the train wheel/train, which allows him to teleport. And in doing so, he, like, leaves Dio there because Dio, like, lunges to get him. And then Dio is cut in half by the train. And you see him.
Fuck, nuts.
And Dio thinks it's a fucked up scene. Because Dio's, like, half of the upper half of his body is, like, crawling. And he's like, I did it. I won. And then he dies. And you're like, oh. Yeah, he didn't do shit, actually.
And then Valentine is completely healed again.
Yeah, he's back to
Just
tip-top shape. He's on the train. And this is when shit hits the fan. Because Dio's dead. Lucy starts to become... Like, she starts to give birth to the corpse, but not actually. The corpse is, like, becoming her. And also, it's, like, fucking with the land. Like, shit around Johnny and Gyro is getting fucked up because of this corpse thing. Gyro gets bitten by a bug. Or he gets bit, like... Gyro gets...
fish.
Yeah, it's a fish. Thank you.
So
Sorry.
weird.
He gets bitten by a fish, which seems very out of nowhere, and then they trade secrets. So Gyro's secret is that his name is actually Caesar Zeppeli, and he'd like he's gonna kill anybody if Johnny
That's
tells him.
Julius Caesar Zeppeli.
Which I
It's pronounced
love.
differently because Gyro pronounces it like in Italian or Latin. I'm pretty sure, not Italian.
So it'd be Kaiser.
Yeah, it'd be
which
Julius Kaiser and whatever his last part was. I forget his real
but I
last name.
love Johnny. Johnny hears this, the biggest secret Gyro could possibly tell someone, and Johnny goes, "Hey, that's that guy from that play. That's that play, right? That Caesar play." And Gyro's so fucking mad at this. He's like, "Dude, what the fuck, man? Give me your secret." And Nolan, you mentioned this earlier, but Johnny's secret is that he has a bug bite fetish.
So fucking weird.
That comes out of nowhere too. He was never alluded to. Never
No,
like
it's a little
suddenly
joke.
dropped.
And that's the only secret he has, because Johnny legitimately doesn't have any secret. Like, the man's got nothing. Like, we've seen his entire backstory. It's kind of nothing. Like, I feel bad for Caesar now, or Gyro, but when you guys saw that his name was Caesar,
I knew.
Damn.
I knew. When I
We
seen
we all
this,
knew. Okay, I'm glad we all knew. Or did, like, we not that we knew his name, but we knew what was about to happen, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I felt it. I felt it in my bones.
Fucking Joe Bros, man. We'll get to it, but Joe Bros can't survive. So we get back to the chapters being called D4C / also Love Train. I don't. They both have like those titles. It's like D4C, and then another one will be like Love Train. But regardless,
Yeah.
we learn that because of the vicinity, like D4C being close to Lucy transforming into the corpse, D4C is becoming more powerful. And then Johnny and Gyro catch up to the train. Johnny's in his killing mode. He shoots through Lucy, who's like God, kind of, to get the president. But then like the president just heals because he's like so close to the corpse. And then he goes on a spiel about how the corpse is his napkin, and this is his moment with the napkin theory. And everything's very... Nothing makes sense here, by the way, okay, viewer? I just want to make that very known. I can't explain this properly, because I barely understood it. I've read this manga twice now, and I don't think I am quite sure of exactly what the fuck happened here. If you guys know it better than I do, feel free.
What did I write down for this part? Fucking.
It's a lot.
It's
There's a lot.
insane.
I don't quite grasp the whole fucking
Like, gap.
teleport gap
Yeah.
time
So
thing.
I'm not reading from my notes here. From what I remember, his so Lucy is empowering D4C.
Yeah.
At first, Val thinks he unlocked a new part of D4C, but in truth, it's the corpse that's giving him the power.
Lucy, yeah.
So what it is he is like surrounded by this field of like not luck, but whenever something bad happens to him, it gets transferred over to a like different part of the world in like different worlds. So for example, Johnny tries shooting
A
him.
lot.
Yeah, and the bullets will make contact with the field instead of D4C or Val because they can both stand in it. But the bullets instead of hitting Val will go into a different world and hit some like random passerby, like a child or like some worker or some soldier and kill them
Some
because
shit.
yeah, the bullet is, traveling to a different world. The caveat to this is D4C and Val can't both be inside of it. He has to like move D4C out partly to attack Johnny or Gyro, and that's how they like start targeting him because he has to move his like left arm out
Yeah,
specifically if he's trying to punch him.
it's very JoJo's, and also is fucking insane. Johnny's kill count gets very high here. He kills a lot of people by just shooting, and Gyro at this point is like, Gyro's in his like holy shit, like his realization moment, because at this point Gyro fully understands like the max level of rotation, and he tries to tell Johnny this, but Johnny just doesn't listen, and Johnny's also kind of like freaking out because he's just killed a bunch of people, and the president is almost like a god. So Johnny kind
Yeah,
of
Johnny
loses
is like
faith.
in a mental breakdown.
Yeah, he loses.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, there's no reason to this anymore. So then, in him, like, shooting the president a bunch, his fucking hand comes off, or the president rips his hand off, or whatever. That's how he loses his hand, right? He just like, does it just
Oh yeah,
pop
so
off?
he
Yeah.
he got the rotation right, and when he tried to shoot, D4C moved past him and sliced his
Yeah.
left arm off.
Very JoJo's again when stands. Their arms are just as strong as the best sword. Just completely chops it off. And at this point, Johnny fucking gives up. So Steel, I wrote here like Steel comes in and saves Lucy. Like one last time, and he tries to get Lucy out of there, and is like, Gyro, get the fuck out of here with Lucy. And at this moment, Gyro allows Lucy onto his horse, which we didn't bring up earlier, but Gyro does not like when women are on his horse. It's a thing he just never allows. So I thought it was a fun little moment.
Sexist.
Yeah, it was a fun little moment when he lets Lucy onto his horse.
He kind of explains it later, but we'll get to that when it happens.
Sure. The wound in Gyro keeps growing bigger, which has kind of been happening throughout the entire fight. It's not like it's moving towards his heart.
That wound?
I don't fucking know. That's the one.
It's
thing
a it's a part of his
still-
the D4C's ability. I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
It's because it's the corpse's ability that Johnny got bit with, or Gyro got bit with, like the fish ability, and it's like it's like Johnny's Tusk Act 2 when he like shoots the bullet and keeps traveling up the person or follows the person. The wound will just keep like spreading.
yeah. I don't think it's explained that well. Like I said, I've been saying I've read this
I
twice.
think he just got dicked, honestly.
Yeah, that bit was a little weird. But Gyro's got Lucy. He's running away, and when he's running away, the further away he gets from the president, the better Lucy gets. And Gyro,
Yeah, and the field also weakens.
yeah, the field
as
weakens. So Gyro's idea is he's like, okay, he starts like hitting the president, and he cuts the president's ear off, or like knocks it off or whatever, steel balls it off, and that's kind of like that's a very big moment because it's like permanent damage done to the president. It's finally like, okay, they can
well.
again,
Yeah, the
they can
president
do
doesn't even
things.
feel it either.
No, he has no
doesn't
idea
know
it
it
happens. Gyro at this point also only has one steel ball left because he loses the other one.
Yeah, he left it by Johnny
Yeah, he
because
left
he
it by
threw it
Johnny.
at the president to save his life.
And his big plan is he wants to drown Funny or drown the president, and they have a fantastic like duel. The art in this part is just gorgeous to look at. Like every panel of them fighting each other is great. Johnny finally comes to a realization where he's like, "Oh my god, I gotta go save my friend. Like, what am I doing here? Just like sitting on my ass." So he starts trying to catch up and we just get Gyro versus the President, where we get Ball Breaker, which is
Oh, break it out.
Gyro's stand, and it can like break through the dimensional barrier. I love Gyro's stand, by the way. I love the little
Shit looks
thing.
so cool, goofy. He's a little
It's
goofy
the
little dude.
both main character stands are just goofy as shit in this part. They're
Yeah.
so funny looking.
Little scrungly
I
boys.
love
Tusk
it.
Act 4 looks pretty cool,
Well,
but
yeah, we're
yeah,
gonna get
the
to
previous ones before that look goofy.
Yeah.
I love it though. But they're fighting. The president's losing his mind because Ballbreaker is like cutting through the gap and still hitting the president, and the president doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah, and when he
Unfortunately,
hits him, he ages him.
yeah, he
Like he
ages. He
ages
gets really
him
old.
like toward the point he's like 90 years old,
All
basically.
his hair fell out.
Yeah.
Except, unfortunately, in this moment, the president wins. All right, Gyro goes down. He's not fully dead yet. This is 84. I'm recapping here. Then we cut to 85. Johnny has like a flashback of the entire adventure because at this point Johnny's close enough to kind of like see what's going on. And I should say, by the way, Lucy has like parted the sea, or like the president. I don't remember who exactly did it.
It's the corpse doing it.
Yeah,
so
the
it's
corpse.
Lucy.
Well, yeah. So like the part of the ocean they were at that he was gonna drown him in has just like completely parted, and it looks dope. And I mean, this shit happened. The president fucking kills Gyro, man. This shit sucked. I was so mad when this happened.
I was too. Pissed me
He
off.
shoots him a lot, by the way. He
So yeah.
guns him down, and like Johnny sees it. Johnny's thinking of, like he's having flashbacks, and he's like trying to remember exactly how shit is supposed to work. You get a cold ass panel of Funny who's like, "Yeah, all right, Johnny, you're next, fucker." Like, okay, I got one down. Time to get the other. But in thinking about how to achieve the perfect rotation, Johnny slams the steel ball into the horse he was riding. The horse kicks him, and when Johnny's like flying through the air, he achieves the perfect rotation, which allows him to get Tusk Act 4, which I love. Tusk Act 4, my favorite version of Tusk.
So cool.
Beefy ass, like wall of a stand. And what does Tusk Act 4 do? But just casually rip open dimensions, Insanely powerful, by the way.
Broke it completely.
Because you shoot it, and so it hits Funny, and what it does is like leave a hole in him, so he's constantly being like sucked
He
into this
gets
hole. And, like,
requimed.
yeah, and he's like
Yeah.
dying, but because of
Rewind
Funny's ability, he's traveling universes, so he like pops into another universe, and because he's got like a flag with him, and he crawls out of the flag, sees another Funny, and is like, you gotta fucking help me. And then he gets like dragged back to the main universe where he's dying. So as long as he's in another universe, he's not dying, but he can't stay in the other universes for long. So he switches memories, except it doesn't work. It doesn't fucking matter, because then like they come back and it still affects him. So Funny's essentially fucked. And I wrote, because this is what it says: every cell of the president's body is rotating. That's the only that's all you
Yeah,
need
he's-
to know about Tusk.
He's like constantly shifting. Like he can't stand up straight. He can't even move that well. He
Yeah.
can barely crawl.
At this
Kind
point,
of falls.
And it's happening to D4C too.
yeah, it's
like
so
it's not just
the president
now.
can't do anything. He's out of the game. He's losing. Well, he can transfer between dimensions, but that's it. We also get what I think is a wildly out of place scene, and not out of place, but it feels very weird. And that's more of the president's backstory. And clearly, Araki was high, and he had just watched Pulp Fiction because it's
I
the
wrote
scene.
this down.
I wrote it down as well. It's the scene from Pulp Fiction. It's to a T the way it's framed and the way the character talks. It is just the scene about the wash from Pulp Fiction, except with a handkerchief, and they hide it in his eyeball, which is, I don't even, like, I get it. It makes sense for his lore, for Funny. I understand the point of the scene, but you're just like, at this point, it's like, that's the scene from Pulp Fiction. Like, you're just, because it's nothing else. You're just like, that's what that is.
Araki, everybody.
Rocky goes high and you watch Pulp Fiction. We get the chapter title, Break My Heart, Break Your Heart, which goddamn, man, Araki going off with these chapter titles, okay?
For real.
Where the president is essentially like, Johnny, wait a minute. Leave me alive and I'll fix the world. I can fix the world and I can bring Gyro back, man. Don't worry about it. And it's so fucked up because Johnny like truly contemplates it because at this point he just wants his friend alive and it's so depressing, but he ends up killing the president and then he like apologizes to Gyro. He's like, man, if only I could have believed him, you know? And it's really like, fuck, man, like I wish you could have brought Gyro back. God damn it, Araki. That's what I have to say about that. God damn it.
Teased us.
Why'd you have to kill Gyro like that, man?
Gyro even appears like doing the weird heaven thing that happened in part 5.
Yeah, oh my God.
And he like talks to Johnny. He's like, "It's okay, Johnny. You did what you had to do."
Yeah, it's so fucked up.
He also says, "You didn't tell my secret. I appreciate that, Johnny."
You're a real one, even though I told it to you an hour ago.
Yeah.
Well, they exchange.
It's just like it's so fucked up that he kills him. I understand it. It makes sense, but I'm like, God damn it! Like you can't just have Joe Bro make it out.
Yeah, because he was like the closest Joe Bro we've had since.
Because there's only 2 characters in this manga, or there's 3 if you count Lucy and stuff. But like, it's Gyro and Johnny, and that's it. There's no other like Joe Bros on the adventure who could possibly die. It's just them. Regardless, you think it's over, right? They killed the president. It's over.
I sent you my reaction.
I know
when it happened.
Until we get to the chapter High Voltage. Love that it's another AC/DC title. By the way, I just want to mention. I love that they killed D4C and immediately it's another AC/DC song. But someone takes the corpse part. Johnny can walk now, by the way, because he's just that cool and he achieved perfect rotation. And Johnny recognizes the horseshoes. I believe that's what it was, right? He recognizes whose horse it was.
The corpse like disappears while he's talking to Lucy and Steel, and Johnny's like, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" And then he sees the horseshoes. He's like, "I know those horseshoes. Where do I know them from?"
This might be out of everything in this manga, including Jesus and the birth of Jesus' skull. I think this is the most shocking reveal because he chases after him. I had no idea who it was going to be, by the way. Genuinely,
I didn't either.
Not a thought in my head of who this could. I just assumed. I don't even know. I assumed nothing. And he finds Dio, and you're like, wait a minute, what the fuck? And Dio's like, yeah, it's me from another universe. And guess what, bitch? The world. And then he stops time. I lost my, even on a reread, by the way, because this is my second time reading it, I fucking lost my mind on that chapter because it's that good. Because you don't see it coming at all. You guys can talk about it.
What makes it even better is we haven't really mentioned it because we're like speed reviewing this. Yeah. But throughout the entire manga, Johnny and Dio have had this thing because when they first meet Dio, Johnny immediately doesn't like him. Like he doesn't trust him. He wants to kill him. He wants to beat him up. And Gyro is like, man, I don't know where you get this like hatred from. We should just either leave him alone or see if he wants to help us. And obviously that changes because Dio's an asshole and Gyro like soon comes to the conclusion, asshole. So, but they've had this like rivalry like throughout the entire manga, and then he fucking shows up. It's so crazy. He does the knife throwing thing too. He throws knives out. That's the first thing he does after you stop time in front of him.
Shit was insane.
It's so fucking good. Did you guys have anything else?
Yeah, so I don't know what the world, like the time stop looked like in the part 3 manga, but how the world like all turned like blue and shit. I thought that just looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks like that. It's like the same thing, like the anime did it and stuff, where like colors change or whatever. I love it. Yeah, no, it's great. I also love that Johnny figures it out almost immediately. Like Dio just tries to kill him. Dio's like, I'm not fucking around with this. I'm just gonna kill Johnny because Johnny's a threat. And then Johnny goes, did he just stop time? Johnny's like, wait a second, hold on. That's kind of fucked up. He's like, I just want a guy who can travel dimensions, but that's fucked up. So then they're fighting, and then they're like, because the race is leading them to New York. So at this point, they're like racing through the streets of New York, and I fucking love it because they're racing through the streets of New York. Everyone's like, oh yeah, the race is ending. Let's go, the race is ending. And then Dio's just not cared. He's like, oh, I killed Johnny. And Johnny's like, what the fuck? Why? Like, Johnny's losing his mind. Johnny has no idea what's happening. And then his dad shows up. And you know what? I'll give it to him. His dad has a little redeeming moment.
He does.
He gives Johnny, or he tries to give
He has the
Johnny.
Chicken Little, that's my son.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
My son,
And
my
he
boy.
and he tries to give Johnny, Nicholas, so Johnny's brothers, his boots that he never let Johnny wear. And I don't know, I thought that was a nice moment. I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. And then we cut to the next chapter where they're still fighting in the streets of New York, and Dio just lights Johnny on fire, and he's almost gonna die. He's got to hop into the sewers to like unbe on fire, and they're just